Yesterday, she cried her eyes out over something trivial. Today, her husband drags his exhausted body to work, but can't shake off the guilt of losing his cool. He leaves work early to find home no longer a battlefield, but a neat kitchen, clean study, and tidy living room. His wife shares that she is feeling better today and took the time to freshen up the entire place. She always knew how hard he worked for their little vacation. The two cling tightly to each other, with all misunderstandings and grievances dissipating into thin air at this very moment, as if transforming into the perfect seasoning for their love. Since they are new parents, they both feel a bit jittery, but as long as they stick together, every problem seems like a piece of cake. Before they realize the baby's birth time arrived, they nodded gratefully, savoring this joyous moment. As they brainstorm baby names, suddenly the wife yells, "My water broke." A plot twist neither of them saw coming. Fortunately, the ambulance arrived in time. After a final struggle, she gave birth to a baby girl. The husband's heart brims with love and care. They named their daughter Yajin, wishing her life flows smoothly like a river. Yajin's arrival has prepped them for a whole new challenge. What diaper type prevents allergies? And what's the ideal formula water temperature? Amid their chaos, the news drops a bombshell. A super-contagious virus spreads globally, with cases emerging across Japan. Meanwhile, his project hit a snag, forcing him to return and take over. Every home entrance must be sanitized for the baby. For her, everything from outside is double sanitized. Her husband must shower and change when coming home, yet anxiety persists. She fears he'll bring home viruses from work, so after days of intense talks, they opt to live separately for now. The wife takes the baby back to her parents' house for refuge while the husband stays in Tokyo to work. Before parting, they can only send hugs. This new little family faces disaster and must temporarily split. The husband, alone in Tokyo, misses his wife and daughter ever. Scrolling through doom and gloom news online, his mood plummets like a lead balloon. Just then, a picture of their daughter pops up on his phone. Seeing her smiling face finally calms his restless heart. Eager to see his wife and daughter daily, he buys a computer and router and asks a friend to drop him off. On the way back, he stumbles upon his wife taking the baby for some. He's dying to run up and hug them, but for safety, he silently watches from afar, sending all the love with his eyes. When his wife sees the package by their door, she quickly realizes he must have just been home. She rushes toward the town's exit and finally spots Dr. Liu. Dr. Liu. Even though they are hundreds of meters apart, their hearts are tightly connected like radio waves. 3 months later, as the pandemic slightly eases, she returns to Tokyo with their daughter, and they embrace after so long, filled with hopes for the beautiful future ahead. If you've lost all hope in life, just hit pause and watch the sweet tale of this loving couple. Yao Kai and Zio Ken have been happily married for 5 years and still keep the lovebird sweetness alive. Every morning, he prepares a delightful breakfast for her and carefully selects a tie that matches her outfit. Finally, he gently bids farewell to his sleeping wife, while she, a freelance cartoonist, enjoys the luxury of waking up naturally every day. However, that day, she discovers her husband has left his phone at home. What a forgetful fellow. She quickly dashes out to catch him, only to find him staring blankly at a pile of trash. Curious, she asks, "What's going on?" He responds with a deeply philosophical. She senses something off, but, being absent-minded, brushes it off, unaware he has long lost his balance under the weight of life's pressures. He rides 2 hours of packed subway to work, dealing with picky customers. One slip-up results in a complaint, leading to a disapproving look from his boss. Amid the pressure, he never complains. He simply bottles up his negativity like a shaken soda can. When he returns home to a sumptuous dinner, he merely mutters about an upset stomach and walks away, leaving her heartbroken. Late at night, the normally quiet husband snores loudly. She thinks he's just tired and wants to comfort him, but he's clearly not interested. Feeling his odd behavior, she's a bit annoyed but mostly frustrated. So she pours her emotions into her comics. That morning, just like any other day, he wakes up to make breakfast, yet he stares blankly at the ingredients, utterly clueless. Startled awake, his still sleeping wife shouts for him to get checked at the hospital, where he's ultimately diagnosed with severe depression. Depression causes mental symptoms, insomnia, agitation, and physical discomfort. Medication helps control it, but full recovery takes long. Upon learning of his condition, she frantically researches symptoms, and it finally hits her his earlier oddities were classic signs she had overlooked. Desperate to help him recover, she reaches out to her mom, learns veggies and fruit are beneficial, and rushes to the market for a haul. After dedicating an entire afternoon to preparing a feast, he still has zero appetite, so she urges him to take a break and rest. But he replies that due to recent layoffs, if he takes leave, everyone else will struggle. He grits his teeth and pushes through. The next day, he looks at the overcrowded subway but lacks the courage to board, realizing his condition is worsening. He musters the courage to explain to his boss, only to be brushed off as whining. Frustration simmers inside him. Misunderstood, he heads to the rooftop, contemplating if his life ends, his wife would be alone. Ultimately, he drags his weary body back home. Seeing her husband in agony on the couch, she realizes if he doesn't take his recovery seriously, she may lose the man who loves her dearly. So, she threatens divorce to get him to quit his job. He submits his resignation, only for his boss to reject it, citing a handwritten. She breathes in, carefully crafts the resignation letter with a ruler, and the next morning, holding his hand, they boldly march to his workplace together. Riding the crowded subway for the first time during rush hour, she feels unprecedented pressure, finally grasping the immense burdens her husband has carried.